I believe it's a late, but we'll go with the Dutch. A flower chain. Why doesn't Milos have one? We're gonna have to.
I don't know. Honestly, no
him.
clue. He just wanted to go a little bit less fancy than we did. No. We're wearing the hats. We're wearing the
One of the things, okay, so we're all dressed up because we're celebrating the start of the summer in France. We'll talk about these bands in a second when they all come through, but I'm just going to throw the story of Jess is here. Obviously, unfortunately, she can't work because she lost her voice, but she's doing so much work in the background of like tracking all the stats and, you know, if there's some fantastic...
She's waving very frantically whenever
and she's giving us great notes. We love Jess. Also, she has also put on one of these shirts.
She did, actually.
Even though she's not on cam all day.
Maybe we can get her in for the end of day desk.
Maybe. She's put on a Hawaiian shirt as well to join in the festivities. So shout out to Jess. I'm sure she'll post a photo later.
I'm sure she will. Otherwise, we will.
Easy and Maddox asked for shirts, but they're not wearing them as far as I know.
There is shirts. There is
so many
they're
shirts.
Just slacking.
And they're slacking. Okay, now we can talk. Oh, wait, we're still waiting. Yeah, they're
still
slacking.
Have another band. We can
Jess
still continue talking.
Fighting alongside us with the shirts.
Yeah.
Those two are lacking. Okay.
Hey,
there it is. Flores is gone. That's so interesting. That's very exciting.
It's not the first one today.
No, I know that. And we weren't here earlier on the desk to talk about it in terms of the cast. It's good to see because there was a really fascinating CGG article, and I don't know if you saw it, that was put together earlier about the drop-off rate of Ashe and who sort of stepped in and where people have gone, because she's gone down by, I think it was 66% in the opening week compared to her pick rate last time based on the change of utility. But Flores, Zafir and Iana were the three where people went to, and Flores, obviously being a new operator, was one of the ones like, okay.
Can see it, you know.
Yeah.
It's a very, very flexible operator. You can see, as you can see, you can take out utility, you can create rotations, you can even displace people. So those are the three main uses of the RCEs, and well, we won't see any of them during this game, as of course he has been banned out, and that will force VP now as a starting team on the attack to edit, to adapt, to bring different ways to still have some soft destruction, and that will be done by, of course, the Sophia and the Sledge mainly, and maybe even some extra breaching charges on Hibana, for example.
I'm curious about Coana's sort of decision to remove Maestro over Goyo, who you sometimes see removed against Virtus.pro as an operator for the team, but especially on Clubhouse, where there is a lot of places to stick those shields. We've talked about it before, and it's one of those things where you go, okay, are they going to sort of expand themselves into that role, or what was it that they wanted to remove from Maestro that they thought was the bigger threat in that situation based on how Virtus.pro play and how they adapt, and if they think Goyo just needs to shut down for them from the utility that they are offered.
Alright, Black Eyes are being put into position just to make sure that the information game will be on point here for Cowana, as they want to make sure that they have whatever it takes to make sure that they can fight them back, because Kenny is playing right behind this bar. He is playing in a very high contest situation and wants to, well, preferably escape with his life and a kill, but as Milan gets the first one to Grizzly, there's a little bit more pressure onto Kenny now.
Yeah, very early take there against Grizzly. He was caught just on the swing around construction, I believe, was quite an easy drop. It allows them to get this early big bit of pressure, because you think of that confrontation, you think of how that was supposed to play out. We're still trying to find the buddy. Oh, maybe it was in CC. They've obviously got the CC wall open. Either way, they're still being very aggressive about the hold. You'll often see teams will have a presence up here, then they'll fall back and they'll try and waste as many drones in time as possible. But look at all of the places they can swing on Gorgona. There is a body that's still playing outside on the window. Sloth finds them though, but then there's someone onto Sloth's back. But Sloth wins that as well on CC. Really shouldn't have. And that puts them in a very solid situation.
Especially with the diffuser now being downed outside on the balcony as well. On the side basically being in the basement. So VP now needs to go for a recovery mission. Need to get these kills. They need to get that diffuser and then work their way down towards that basement. Drones are coming out, trying to find out if there's still any players up here, and the answer is going to be no, because there is going to be two in launch and, you know, that little meeting area. And as Andrizi is deciding to already work on opening up the hatches that might get him killed, because Sloth is just waiting around the corner. And as the angles are being watched, it is Andrizi that might not feel too safe. The diffuser in the meantime will be recovered, however.
Wow, that was, I mean, really shouldn't have been their body to lose in that situation. Obviously, you lose a lot of utility in the pockets there, but it was just a gunfight where I was talking about how they had all the cover. They had the body outside Jacuzzi, they had the pickup for the swing lane on CC, and Sloth just able to take that and then take the second engagement. find success in it. Really saved Gorgona's life there, because otherwise, without him, you assume it would have fallen away. Kendrew, still playing a bit loose here, still has the potential to offer some surprise around the backside. They're entirely eyeing up this drop on the side, and as the fire comes to the back of those boxes in the A case, it's Kendrew around the backside, gets one, misses the second, who was just covered off by that middle of the kitchen utility. There's the swing, the jiggle around the door, and he's able to get one more. Just leaves Enter easy with only 15 seconds, but not for very long. Cowana, they take a round that really shouldn't have been theirs.
It was a really great start here from VP. They had a good kill. They were starting to take some control on that top floor. However, Sloth was able to find double with that, drop the diffuser and make sure that a lot of the pressure on the top floor was alleviated. And with that, not much time left. It was about 1 minute 30 for VP to recover that diffuser, work their way down towards the sides. And with that, they kind of forgot about droning out Lounge. And with that, they weren't able to, of course, catch out these two players that were just looming around the corner, waiting to go up for a flank. That then resulted in even more kills, of course, from Kenny. And from there, it went to worse. With that, Cowana able to pick up that first round. A great first round. Well brought back by them. But as you said, might have not been allowed to be brought back there.
Yeah, it really was built upon finding revenge on the top floor. As I said, you do those tall extensions. You can either try and dig in and get firefights, which, to be fair, Cowana are more than capable of. But usually you'd play it as a much longer game. You would try and bait a bit more utility and a bit more time out of them and make that late push more pressure. The thing about Cowana is when they start to lose bodies, they react aggressively. They'll try and swing back. They'll really dedicate themselves to getting the trade, sometimes to a fault. Here, taking that firefight against Virtus.pro, they might have been a little bit unaware or a little bit lacking on the attention on that approach here. And Gorgona gets himself that cam just outside again for what you expect to be them stepping up. And Virtus.pro are the ones that need to try and match the pace, because if Cowana build pace, they are at their most dangerous.
Interesting to see here is that VP is not putting the initial pressure down onto the wall, onto the balcony wall. No, they're going for Garage first with both Excaliburs, a Maverick, and a Thermite. So a lot of the hard breach potential is being used there, and Sloth taking a lot of damage will actually go down onto K9. Will be confirmed, of course, with the impact grenade right afterwards after the ADS has got wasted. That's going to be a very early entry yet once again for VP.
Now, as they try and creep their way round and build upon the success of taking out that early body, you want to make sure that it's nothing that they repeat before, where they were able to get that revenge, get another body out of the situation, and see if they can start to collapse and apply this pressure onto them. Grizzly has stepped up and retaken the mantle of the rafters there, looking towards that door with a pre-thrown C4, but unfortunately nobody is home to suffer the effects. There's Gorgona, though, hopped out with the intel from the camera before, just caught on that rotation, back in by Ras. Gonna use the grenade. There is a swing on the door, and Anarchic gets it. A little bit too late. Again, look at this Cowana. They respond with the loss of bodies and the loss of light by trying to push themselves back in. Grizzly over the top as he's being grenaded, gets one more and leaves the two bodies stuck under the stairs.
Great responses by Cowana here, and Grizzly now finds himself in a 1v2 inside the garage, waiting for the teammates to come and help, but we'll be taking down Pasha first, and that leaves it all up to Andrezi now. He's just waiting. The pings are coming in. They know exactly where he is, and Kenny will be throwing in that nitro cell, getting that final kill. And that is going to be the second round here for Cowana. It's starting off quite strong, but yet again, an opening kill here for Virtus.pro, which is being responded to very aggressively by Cowana. They just peek, they just go out. You saw it from the injury that we had inside of blue. Instantly the smoke rotates down to try and save him. Even though that the grenade gets tossed out, he will die for sure. Maybe you're still going to be able to get the return frag on him, and that's exactly what happened. And with that Cowana, they stay in motion, they stay and to try and contest the to keep the initiative, which they do still have. And with that now can go on a roll, because this is the second round in a row where VP had the advantage, but they lost it due to the aggression that Cowana can bring.
So, we cycle around the third site here, and Cowana, they're not letting Virtus.pro get comfortable. There is the Man with the many shields I talked about at the beginning is what is often a traditional ban against Virtus.pro on this map. They've obviously lent into that instead. They want to structure him into their defense. It gives you a lot more space. It gives you that sort of multifaceted wall defense that you can fall back and then have a new pocket of safety and then fall back. And to be fair, with how they've been making Virtus.pro play uncomfortably, it gives them a little bit more kind of solidity. It gives them almost a route that they can cut their way through and say, well, if we take this, it's going to put more pressure there, and it allows some seconds, but it also limits the rotations and the pushback that Cowana themselves can do.
VP now need to make sure that this doesn't get into their heads. They need to adapt to whatever Cowana is bringing as we speak, and that Claymore that Milan has just put down could be a great start. They're expecting a run out from Strip. With that, you're going to be able to try and cancel it out. A little bit of damage will be done onto an Arctic as they try and open up on a window, but nothing too major and nothing too, well, hindering for the likes of Cowana. And as these last windows are being deployed, you see a bit of care from the Sledgehammer of Pasha. Maybe a nitro cell will be tossed up. Of course, not the case. And as the exothermic goes off into CCTV, that should be the first point of contention. That should be the first point of VP trying to bring the fight to Cowana, and hopefully for them this time take the upper hand and keep it.
Now the pressure's coming across the top of the rafters here as they steadily try and force that body out into a more uncomfortable situation. With the CC wall already open, it's that sort of split push that you expect to see across the board. Cowana is the man lounging in lounge. Underneath, there's a bit of an opening on the door itself and might be able to offer some countenance to a bit of a swing here, but you're always concerned that it's being held from that little bit of range. All the intel will be passed around, and that C4 in pocket could prove deadly if he can get himself confident enough to swing round. He might not know that he has a little bit more give here than before, but that C4 goes...
Where'd it go?
I don't think it got blown.
Stuck.
Oh, stuck on the top. That's unfortunate. It just has to blow it before it becomes danger. But look at this. Cowana is the man that's actually rotated out and finding himself a new angle of approach. And a minute 20 still on the board. And this is the sort of stem and slow approach where we now hit wall number 2.
Yeah, wall number 2 indeed, and you saw the rotation quickly from the two buddies of Cowana falling back towards the second layer of the defense, which is of course going to be the mirror window in logistics, and with blowing up that shield will not be really able to be contested by the attack for another 15 seconds, and of course the way to counter that would be to use X-Kairos. Now, I'm not sure how many Andrizi has left. He should be still having plenty, as of course because Zeka was the one who used his exothermic charge to open up the wall. As you see, 14 left, so they now need to take care of that mirror window. With that, they gain opportunity to seize control of construction. If they don't do so, they will purely have to focus from the windows and from the jacuzzi balcony.
Now the pressure comes towards this mirror window, and Kendrew cannot really hold on to it for as long as he can. It's Sloth that finally opens up the body count. 30 seconds left, sprays through Milan with some revenge behind the bomb chassis. The pre-placed play is the one that comes through for them, but they still have to get themselves inside, and Cowana is still underneath with that C4. No, it's Rask, sprayed through and captures a very particular and important kill over that billiards table. So how are Cowana going to respond? They're still trying to find a little bit more aggro and a little bit more of a spray around the corner there. Kendra has taken up the position of Sloth, but doesn't last very long there with only 8 seconds left. It's Grizzly underneath. Makes the diffuser go down cold. There's the spray in the rotation. A C4 is flung, and it's an Arctic who hops out of there. Milan, though, taking the initiative, gone elsewhere, but Rask on the rotation is able to finally find Virtus.pro some desperate success.
Had no clue where the plant was going down. You saw him rotate. He wanted to use that nitro cell to secure the kill, but Rask, as you said, there to catch him, there to make sure that this round wouldn't be bleeding into Cavana's hands either. And now VP finally on the board here. Managed to pick up there first, and well, are going to be trying to put up a fight. And as we are heading towards Church Arsenal next, Cowana will be trying to regain that momentum to slow VP down as much as possible, because you want to get as many rounds as you possibly can on your defensive half. Not just, of course, on your first half. Let's put it up like that, because if you put up as many rounds as you can on that first half, that is only going to be increasing the pressure onto your opponent, who then still have to, well, thread into unknown territory as they haven't played it themselves yet in this said official game.
All right, as I said before, they went for this tall sort of hold and were successful in getting the revenge and the response from just fragging out. And it's whether Virtus.pro have woken up a little bit more, whether they found themselves a bit more coordinated. First couple rounds, they can sometimes be a little bit shaky, but now they have some success under their belt. It was scrappy, but it's theirs, and it's still that scratch on the ever-important board in the top center of the screen. They've been able to make sure that they're at least angling towards that 4-2 split, which, to be fair, on club is pretty standard, if not nowadays you do sometimes see, based on the operator bans, a 3-3 go through instead.
Definitely so, and of course floors will be a big hit to the attack. It is not being replaced with an Ash either on the VP side. Instead, the Sledge and Milan on the Zofia will be the two pieces of soft breach that they will stay and work with for now. Maybe Cowana will choose a different approach for that. Maybe the Ash will actually be brought out by Cowana. Until then, we're still looking to see what VP has to offer, and that drone there will be given a little bit of information, trying to go for a pre-fire but won't quite be able to hit it. Cowana just staying put for now, just trying to waste as much time as possible onto that top floor whilst the site is actually in the basement. Now VP, if you realize this, there's currently 3 people off site. You can overwhelm them with ease.
It's just making sure that you have those dots fall into place at the right time, because the more you find yourself wrapped up in trying to control players that are this far away from the site, the more time that ticks away, which plays into the game, and then at the same time, you'll often see that these players, they're not trying to hold on to these top 2 floors for the entirety. They're often looking towards that minute-and-a-half marker, which we're about to get to, if not the minute marker, and saying, okay, well, let's start to try and peel our way back. Let's start to try and get ourselves covered. You can see the sort of scratches and starts of that, but Sloth, yeah, he was eyeing the idea of a fight. A drone catches him down in the bottom of lounge that he's able to take care of there, and it still puts Virtus.pro in this tricky situation of they're still trying to work on information that might be outdated.
Still 2 people upstairs as Grizzly gets the first kill down onto Passion. Now we have Gorgona waiting in the corner. I believe it's Kenny as well. No, it's Grizzly actually onto the main stairs, hopping down now. They have the entry kill. They can fall back. It's just Gorgona that will dig himself in very deeply here, hoping to pick up another kill, but he misses the opportunity. Gosheka will find a refrag, and that leaves us with 65 seconds left on that clock here for Cowana to try and hold on to the final push that VP wants to put on onto this side. If they fail to do so, it will be locked for the remainder of this matchup for Cowana. With that, VP would lose yet another round, but 50 seconds and nothing has been opened up yet.
Finally, they can start their approach towards this kitchen hatch, which is going to be their point of entrance. Kendrew last time put off a pretty great rotation around the backside, but this time isn't obviously in the same situation. It seems like they're being quite cautious and instead going to get Moto open first, play away from the danger of the kitchen hatch, and able to actually strike the body on pipes. Grizzly goes down, caught in the mix of a rotation now as the pressure starts to come down from blue. Kendrew finds himself with that C4, unfortunately not to be used. A great adaptation here from Virtus.pro, but they've got to see if they can try and make it count as they funnel and try and fuel their way down this main set of stairs. Kajeka's dancing a dangerous dance, 10 seconds. They're going to go for the big rotation onto the Moto side instead, but there's smoke on the door. It puts them in such a tricky situation. Sloth is on the back line. Rask can't quite find the way through. That's a diffuser not even just in sight. They couldn't stick it in time.
You saw the opening into the wall towards the arsenal, and you're like, all right, they want to run through, they want to go for a plan, but a big mistake made there is the fact that the kitchen hatch has not been opened up yet. It allows Kenny to play in a very forward position, right on the bomb chassis, or right on the box behind the bomb chassis. Gets himself an elevated position. There's no way you're going to be able to enter that without winning that gunfight first. And with that, it was Cowana that had the perfect cover, the perfect idea on how to counter it. And it all comes down to those first 1.5 minutes that get basically washed away as VP try and take top floor control. They fail to do so. They lose a man, also gain one, however. But then by the time they reach that first floor and they're like, all right, we need to push now, there is no time anymore to open up every single hatch. There is no time to create many different possibilities and still rotate in between them, because in that case, you would like to have everything opened up already by the 1:30 mark. But the 1:30 mark, instead, they're still trying to find out whether or not there's people left on that top floor.
So, now we find ourselves still hurtling towards the potential of this 4-2, maybe even the 3-3. As I said, you're still expected to find yourself growing into your attacks on this half. If there was a different score at this point, you'd be asking more questions of Cowana, but I guess the questions that you're looking towards Virtus.pro is, again, these little sort of misplayed moments, these little breaks in how everything's coming together. It was most obvious there, as you said, they were trying to shove the diffuser in the right positions, but they hadn't done a little bit of work before, and they were obviously cautious about not quite having all the work done. If you make that sort of adaptation where you've got 20 seconds left and you go, right, we can't do this, so we've got to try and do this, you have to just go for it sometimes. You have to try and throw yourself in and overwhelm with the body count on the door, expect some losses, or expect some damage from the smoke canister instead of being a bit more cautious. Try and just deep dive yourself through. You know there's going to be one on the church, you know there's going to be one in blue, but you know that if you don't do anything, you lose the round.
Doubt kills you.
Yeah.
in this case. Hesitance is the biggest enemy VP had there, and Kendrew this time will start it off with a great kill, and we'll also be getting an exothermic charge, I believe, from Karjeka, who thought it was safe to go up for it, but of course it was not. So now they need to change it around, and you see they're not even going to be bothered with opening up onto the main wall. They're just going to be completely rotating around. This might be a construction take, so they'll go for the jacuzzi first, they then go for bedroom and gym control, take logistics, go for construction, open up that wall, and proceed from there, because they lost their first exothermic by trying to be too quick, and that is just careless behavior right here that we're seeing from Virtus.pro.
See a little bit of frustration right now, as I said, those little missed moments, those little changes of links. You might have thought, okay, well, why that Cavalier? Obviously, Bandit was a 6th pick, and you know, you sort of trust in the information. You expected to still see the mirror, so it's a big blow to utility. You have Maverick, you have Hibana, you have options, but you don't have time. And that's something where we're sort of seeing them stumble, is there'll be a bit of a misplay at an important moment, and then they find themselves really limited in how to try and get the actual play executed at the right time.
Mute Gemmer on the wall right there will be stopping the X-Karas from actually going through. Gorgona will now use the Bandit charge to destroy them as well. So even if they would clear the Gemmer, they would not be able to use it. In the meantime, Milan, however, will be securing himself a DBNO onto Slov yet again onto the rafters, but this time no impact to secure that kill. And that means that Grizzly will shortly be able to pick him back up, and they will put themselves back into a 5-on-4 situation. In the meantime, however, they're already mavericking down the construction wall. They're trying to open that one up, but it's a very risky business. It's a very risky thing to try, because if you're not paying attention, you might be taken out. Of course, it's going to be the X-Karas that will officially blow up that hole. That gives them an entry, but there's not much time left. And as Rask now tries to open up a bit of a rotation into the wall from the balcony there, that should be a bit of cover that they hope to use.
Yeah, he's just trying to get everything that would otherwise be needed. The C4 doesn't quite find its way through the hole, but Karjeka finds Grizzly. The run out, and it's every direction. But in the meantime, Andries is able to find one inside the site. Karjeka with a double stopped by an arc kick, and well, suddenly it's just Karjeka left on the opposite side. The two bodies, as I said, the real limiter here has been that time. He has the diffuser. He can try and stick it and play a long wait game. You assume they're going to have the intel. They're just going to pop their way up, so he goes for confrontation instead. But unfortunately, it leads to nothing. Cowana, 4 rounds.
You see how worried VP is actually on all these Valkyrie cams. You saw them by the time they entered construction. They were looking in the sky, looking at the ceiling, like, can we find a camera? And they weren't able to do so. Not sure if there was one actually located around there, but you see them constantly worrying about cams. You see them constantly worrying about the information there, and that is also going to be the reason why they didn't want to go for the plan. There is going to be that information piece on you. There might still be a nitro cell that wasn't accounted for due to that 6th pick, and with that, of course, you're trying to figure out whether or not you would be safe to go for a plant. And of course, with the little amount of time left, surely we're going to get pushed as soon as you try it. So with that, try to go for the pick. Wasn't able to get it. And Cowana now lead 4-1. VP, just like Empire, seems to be struggling so far. Even though Empire managed to put up quite some rounds and actually got a point in the end. A single point.
Yeah, it was a sort of strange game in the game before, in that it, you know, statistically, attacker-sided. I think both teams would disagree, because statistically it was clutch-sided. It was mistakes were being made. And, you know, and I think it can be similarities here for Virtus.pro's attacks. So it's down to, I guess, if we're going to have a similar game before, is are Cowana likely to make these same sort of mistakes? Or are we going to see them make these same sort of mistakes? Because, as I said, there's the parts of the play, and you understand why Virtus.pro are doing what they're doing. You understand why they're going for these rotations, why they're going for these sort of change of where they're trying to, or they're sort of pushing past some of the earlier mistakes. But it's still that sort of disconnected, messy spaghetti approach that unfortunately is leaving them a little bit disjointed when it comes down to it. And you know, it's a tricky situation when your attacks aren't quite connecting and you feel like they could be and should be, because it's frustrating. It builds that frustration.
It is, but it just seems like they're a bit too hesitant, sometimes a little bit too careless with their utility, as of course the exothermic was lost very early on in the last round. Of course, this time it will pop, but it is due to the fact that it's not that important for Cowana whether or not that wall will stay closed or not. The only reason why reinforce that is just to bleed out these exothermics, give them a chance less to actually use it, with a beautiful nitro cell from Kenny just flying through, able to pick up that kill, and with that, it's going to be the man advantage yet once again, but Milan is trying to contest. Milan has an angle that he can try try and hold, and that will be Sloth that is on the other side of it. The question is, can he win that gunfight, or will it go Sloth's way this time as well?
It's at least 2 rounds now where Kendry's been able to take care of Pasha with the C4 from a bit of range, and I guess it's the response that you want to see here is that grenade was just caught by an ADS in the very dying seconds of it before it hurtled towards that Goya shield at the top of the red stairs. Makes things much more dangerous because you've got to try and keep burning through them. You've got to know that, well, we've already pumped all this utility in. If we don't make it happen with the way ADSs are now, it's just going to reset. And they've realized this. They took up the option of, instead of trying to force their way through and not quite trusting, they're going for a rotate. Milon cuts Gorgona off in the split, puts Sloth into a tricky situation where he can either try and take the fight here on the side window, as he's done before. It shows that they're expecting it, or they maybe have a drone that's giving them intel on saying Sloth's about on CC, don't lose to it, and that allows Milon to sort of pay this attention and let the pressure come from the rest of the team on the other side. That
keeps him busy as well, though. Rask, however, with a very dangerous drop here, comes from the back, will be able to pick up that kill, and with that gets CC under control. And now Cash can be taken under control as well. Just the mirror window of Kendry yet again is going to be a problem point, a pain point, because they cannot take construction as a result. Grizzly all the way on the bottom floor right here will be using these yokais to hopefully clutch up last second for Cowana here. And as a Nitro will be traded with a grenade, it is going to be an Arctic that gets the worst of it. He drops down in a DBNO staked, and that leaves us with 30 seconds left. But remember, still 2 yokais up, 30 seconds, and Grizzly all the way on the bottom floor.
That's the thing. They've sort of played this echo against the late movements that we've seen them take.
The diffuser
goes down! The diffuser with the loudest sound that you'd ever hear it make hits the dirt and the floor, and they're going to try and force their way back through. Kendry's gone down. There's still an echo on the board. There is not enough time for them to be able to reconvene and take this otherwise. It's a 2 versus 1, but Grizzly, he's 2 stories away, sitting in Moto, and they're all out of time.
I was going to say, if it was the Zofia that was dropping down through that hatch, of course, had the opportunity to use the impact that might have still been left in pocket. I was like, uh-oh. But no, he was long gone. He was just watching him on the yokai. He's like, I got this, boys. I clutched this 1v2 and put there my CGG stats.
I mean, could have been on any other map in the world. But unfortunately for Virtus.pro, and it's the tricky situation. So I was about to say they're bringing it because the executes are coming quite late, and in the situation, the pickup there and the idea of saying, well, they weren't clearing down here before, so you can just sit down here with those drones and we'll gamble on them doing a late thing, paid off because the diffuser was dropped. If that hadn't have gone that way, they would have been able to dig their way into sight.
Definitely.
That 2 versus 1 situation, the worst kill at the worst possible time if you're Virtus.pro.
Of course, probably Cowana wouldn't have gone as aggressive as they did outside of the bathroom wall. You know, if the diffuser wasn't dropped, if they didn't know where everybody was, that must have been, what, a lot of confidence coming down from them. They definitely knew that if they were aggressive there, they were able to put up quite some pressure on. And as Kenny's C4 yet again shown, gets Pasha right off, and here you see it. Picking up the mirror, going aggressive right after, dropping that diffuser, probably the key point of the round. Together, of course, with Grizzly being all the way down into the basement. No one will be able to find him whatsoever. And leaves us at 1-5 now. VP onto the defense. Need to make sure that they make up for some rounds, because, as you said, a 4-2 split is not too uncommon. It's a 1-5. It's a bit worse then. That means that they need to equalize this or even do better with 5 or 6 rounds if they want to have opportunity of picking up at least 2 rounds, or at least 1 point, I have to say.
I mean, it's the tricky situation right now for Virtus.pro. Statistically, that's 2 rounds over 2 games so far. Obviously, we've seen a great comeback previously by a Russian team that otherwise had 0 rounds before they came into this play day. So there's still something here for Virtus.pro to build around. But if I'm honest, as we saw before, it's down to Cowana to make more mistakes than successes. They're in a good stead, a good position. They sort of know what they're coming up against. As I said before, they're the instant proof that Virtus.pro are a team that loves to run Goyo because of the extensions it can offer, because of the utility that's there. This is technically Virtus.pro with their plan A defense that we've known them want to bring for a long, long period of time, minus, you know, the Wamai that they obviously removed in that situation. They can be good with Maestro, but I wouldn't say they're synonymous with the use here. It's more expected. There's obviously the Gemini trying to find as much as possible here behind the back of blue. The spray comes through, and they know that they can try and dig that body out there.
Now, interesting change here. Cowana will be using the Yana, of course. We were talking about how the floors might be caught up. Now, we saw the Sledge and the Zofia on the other side, not the Yana. And you're like, Yana is not a soft breacher. What are you talking about? But does carry the Gon 6, does carry 2 grenades, and does have the Gemini Replicator available, which can all be used to take out utility or go for intel gathering. And with that, of course, I understand why a Yana would be brought here by Sloth. Also, many call her the new Ashe. Has the G36C, has that extra ability that is so helpful and might be more helpful in some of these cases than Ashe, as she has an G36C as well.
Well, it ties back into that CGG article that came out earlier, where it shows how people have adapted that were previous Ashe mains towards the changes, and only in our region, only in EU, have we seen more people go towards Iana than Zephyr was the other standard change. Kajeka suffers a little bit of a shoulder of damage. There could have been worse if maybe half a foot over, but it's the start of the pressure of the explosives. A minute on, and they're doing all the work that they can. Nobody has been left, but they've been able to take control of the rest of the space as they wanted to. They're making sure that they get open the kitchen hatch, which we said was one of the things that massively cost Virtus.pro before Cowana are doing all the work that they need to. But if VP can dig in here and lock themselves early with a couple of bodies on the opening push, it could really throw Cowana off.
Need to clear out the men behind Boiler. A single grenade will be used to waste the ADS. Now let's see if there is going to be a second. No, they have it. Sloth gets in the grenade from Blue, and with that, it is going to be Boiler cleared out. However, Milan and Andrezi both watching it. A kill goes both ways here as Milan gets traded out. Sloth managed to pick up a double kill, triple kill even. And Gogona cleans it up as well. It is going to be Cowana now onto match point, and not just one M.
There's a lot.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, it was very well played execute. It was everything going to plan. It was, the positioning was fantastic. They knew where they needed to be. They sort of had themselves on that 3-2-1 go. And sure, there was a kill that went sort of Virtus.pro's way earlier on into the engagement. But that strength, that overpowering that came through from Cowana, that ability to sort of go, okay, we've lost one, but we're not going to lose any more. That's what we were talking about when we said we needed that from Virtus.pro. You need to hit those speed bumps. Don't do this in the real world, only in video games, but hit them full pace. And yeah, sure, you might lose a wheel. You might lose a bit of the car. The bonnet might fall off. Again, don't do this in real life. No. But you get yourself to your destination, and that was their stumbling that Cowana just sort of strong-armed them through. You see an Arctic go, because that they didn't have the full clear, went for the plant right next to the wall as well. Like, they sort of went, well, I've got to be in here, but I can't be there, so I'm going to go here, and I'm going to stick it. And my elbow's out, and it could be dangerous. That's that cavalierness that you need.
It is, definitely. And I still dare to say the issue with Virtus.pro throughout this game has been them hesitating. You see them worrying about, all right, so we've wasted 2 minutes on trying to clear the top floor. What do we do now? And it looks like there's a lot of mixed signals coming in, because you see people rotating from left to right to left to right, all within 10, 20 seconds. And with that, of course, that is extra time that gets wasted. That makes Cowana even more comfortable. And right now, it is going to be match point. 2 match points, 3 match points, 4 match points, even 5 match points here for Cowana. That's the situation we're in right now. It's not the craziest comeback we've seen. We've seen better and bigger things to happen. But by the way, Virtus.pro has been playing so far. It's not really looking too good for them.
I think that's the thing as well, is it's not, you know, they have all these options for all these endgame rounds, but I don't think we'll see many with how these sort of teams have shaped up. It's just been a little bit, as I said, uncoordinated, unfortunately, from Virtus.pro. We only really would get the true taste once we saw both sides. And we've only seen one round. There's no two ways about that. But Cowana being this confident in this situation, having locked off, you know, 5 of their defenses, they've taken the first attack now. As I said, the most dangerous Cowana is a confident Cowana. Because it's a Cowana that will literally throw themselves, you know, they're the ones you send in.
What are you doing there, Rask?
Just an early take there on Rask. They're the ones that you send in when you're like, we don't know how dangerous this is, and you get a confident Cowana, and they're like, don't worry about it. Like, they'll charge into, they're the horror movie ones where you go, no, don't go in there, but then they appear like 4 scenes later.
No, Basha, no!
Oh no.
Did he just whiff? I'm going to call it whiff. An entire magazine onto a man that was on his drone in his first try. Was able to turn it around. Anarchic as well. Kasheka will be able to find a return kill, though. Kenny will go down. Kendrew gets taken out. That is your Maverick gone. It's going to be making it a little bit harder to open up the wall, of course, but in the meantime, we already have 2 men down on the VP side. Rask and Pasha both gone. That is a Nitro, and that is your Roamer that both got taken out. Now, a lot of information being gained here by Grizzly. They know exactly where the Black Eye is. They'll just probably put themselves into a position where they can deal with it. Of course, right now, just quickly check in. There is a mute on the board, but with the current lines that the Maverick has made, surely the mute jammer has been removed. Indeed, and as another kill comes in from Sloth, the wall will be opened up at the same time as well. And this is only going to be making it worse right here. I wouldn't be surprised if Cowana ended within the next 30 seconds.
Well, Kajak is holding on as best they can as the walls start to fall, with Andreezy offering the cover on the top of red. Gorgona's still popping out, but with a minute 30 left, it's so much time for them to try and restructure and rebuild. There has been a bit of a rotation of Andreezy, though. He's dropped out the hatch and been able to take Sloth from behind. A fantastic play there as he went around. He didn't have the hatch, even he took red stairs. Kajak was the one close to the hatch. It is still a great bit because it pulls some attention away from what is otherwise being put forward from Cowana. It's 20 seconds that's gone. They still have loads of time, but now it's put them into a slightly better situation, and it's meant that Anarchic has to do this big wide rotate to restructure himself there. There's just trying to find that first body.
2 smokes left on Andreezy to try and clutch this with a bit of damage being done into Anarchic, but he'll be starting to... Oh, he gets down by the actual smoke right here. Kajeka misses the opportunity to try and actually go for the kill, and with that, Grizzly's now in the site as well. They need to try and retake this one. They need to make sure that Grizzly goes down, but as he manages to hold off to the door, Kajeka will be shoulder peaked, loses his life there as well. It's only up to Andreezy now. No more smokes left. 30 seconds. The diffuser has been recovered. All that Gorgona needs to do is just hold off this angle as Andreezy is trying to sneak in closer. Gets caught off with his gun down. Gorgona gets the final kill, and with that, Cowana are going to be able to pick up the win here in a very convincing manner.
A frustrating day for Virtus.pro to add to the frustrations that they felt previously. 2 rounds, 2 games, 2 big VODs to go back and watch and see if they can piece stuff together, because it was mistakes on their attacks. There's no sort of 2 ways about it. We know that they're a team that's come into this with a change. They're a team that can be massively capable, but against a team that can smell weakness like sharks that see blood, it was just easy for Cowana this day to sort of just pull that apart.